Old musical sage coming at you from down by my van that's down by the river. Hey, at least I'm having fun with it, right? So most of you have caught on that when I shaved off my actual beard and I cut off all of my hair, that I look like a different guy, and it kind of allowed me to walk around in public. So that's why I'm covering my face for now. Although I think I've full-on given Antifa the slip. I'm taking these off. They're making me dizzy. No, they're kind of cool. Leave them there. That just looks too cool. All right. Fun time in the mirror. So I thought I'd make this video. It may go on a little bit long because, there's this kind of a detailed description of what I would do about November 4th if I were Donald Trump. Now, we got to go with a few things first that are assumptions, okay? Let's assume that there is, in fact, a deep state coup brewing. Let's assume that they are not just trying to impeach Donald Trump, but they hope to use the 25th Amendment, I think that's the right one, where they basically find that he is unfit for service or mentally ill in some way and remove him in that way. Or maybe that they plan to JFK him. I do think it's very interesting that he's releasing the JFK files. Maybe if they indicate that there was some kind of deep state plot against JFK, it'll keep all eyes on the deep state if anything were to happen or someone were to try to do something to Donald Trump. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, not saying any of this is true, these are assumptions, we're just guessing here. Let's assume that Donald Trump's life is in danger potentially. Let's assume that Antifa are the street soldiers who intend to bring about some kind of public display of violence and discord that might get the attention of the world. Let's assume that George Soros' $18 billion buys him at least a couple of handfuls of some real genuine soldiers so he doesn't have to rely just on Antifa. Let's assume that the deep state maybe is corrupt and up to 50% of it decide to take up arms and try to seize the government in the vacuum that they create by somehow taking out Trump. Let's assume this is all going to happen on November 4th or shortly after. If all of these things are stacked against our president, if all of these forces are aligned against him, let's even jump and make this worst case scenario and say, let's say the North Koreans are just standing by to help out. Maybe they're funding some things as well that we don't even know about. Or the Chinese. If you watch my video, EMP and the End of the World, or End of America, EMP and the End of America, it's way back there. You have to go looking for it, way back. If you go back there, you'll probably discover in that video that I talk about that if things go south and things get really bad, then our enemies will be poised to do something about it. So one would assume, for the sake of America, one might assume for the sake of Donald Trump's presidency and potentially even to preserve his own life, that he might be inclined to do something. So if he were to do something, what might he do? What could he do? Could this potentially, if he survived it, lead to some kind of martial law or even a dictatorship? And I hope not. I love the Constitution. That's what this channel's all about, man. The Constitution. First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, all of them, right? The entire Bill of Rights. So, if he were inclined to do something, what might be wise and sage, for instance, for him to do? Well, here's what I would do. Here's what old man Sage might do. So first of all, I would declare Antifa a terrorist organization. And any organization that flies the hammer and sickle as part of their emblem. I would seize all of their available funds. I would name George Soros as a conspirator to overthrow our government. And I would have all the funds he just gave to his foundation, all 18 billion, I'm hearing 19 from some, 18 billion, I would seize it. That's the first thing I'd do. I'd take his money. You're president of the United States. You can do that. You can just take his money. Just ask drug dealers. They take their money all the time. So I believe this would be something he could easily do. Now, we've got the reverse Russia collusion story that's going on, the Uranium One story. And also, James Comey said, hey, Hillary Clinton broke the law concerning evidence and these 33,000 deleted emails. And yeah, she did some obstruction of justice and she did some other stuff. So while you're at it, swoop in, arrest her too. Arrest every Antifa leader, arrest Hillary Clinton, and if Barack Obama had anything to do with it, get him while you're at it. Arrest him as well. And take them all down to Guantanamo Bay. Now, if November 4th is a super big deal, you know, none of us get it because we're just peons on the street and we don't know what's going on. And maybe November 4th is much bigger than any of us thought. Maybe it's an actual coup, a multifaceted, multiple player, multiple group endeavor that's all orchestrated. What if? Then he would be legit in doing all of these things. And maybe then, and only then, he might be able to put a stop to it. So, what would I do if I were Donald Trump? Yeah, I'd kind of go medieval on him. You know, I would definitely be making some moves and planning some moves. And with that thought in mind, maybe that's what he meant when he stood with his generals a couple of weeks ago and said, well, boys, maybe this is the calm before the storm.